Welcome, everyone, to our next episode of Limitless Ed X. Tonight, we are discussing support systems unraveled, the exodus of EAs, CYWs, and beyond. And my lovely co host, Jeanette Easton.
Hello, everyone. So great to have you listen in. This is a very important topic. We've discussed teachers exiting, but support staff play such a critical role, and they are the glue that holds so much together, and they are not always valued as much as they should be, and that really should change.
Absolutely. I completely agree. I've had so many conversations, and honestly, some of my best friends are educational assistants or early childhood educators. And I think the biggest theme is that they feel undervalued, just in terms of like even their pay. The pay scale for CYWs, EAs, ECEs is very, very limited, especially in today's economy. So a lot of the times I know they take their expertise and they're working second and third jobs oftentimes. Like they work summer camps. Oh, and they also don't get paid over the same schedule as teachers. So when they aren't working over the holidays and over the summertime, they don't get paid. So oftentimes, either they are applying for different jobs around the province that they can work around and have the same schedules. So summer camps, YMCA programs, there's a lot who do group homes and different shifts, like afternoon and overnight shifts. And there's just a huge burnout, right? Because as we know, it's so sad because they are our frontline workers, right? And they are often the ones put in the very violent and explosive and chaotic situations day after day. And they don't often get the value that they deserve or the recognition.
Oh, definitely. I started as a CYW myself, and alternatively, I have worked as an EA. Kind of worked through the ranks and did a lot of different roles in public and private. Um, the training that you make about 30 to 55K, which is peanuts. You could work, in a less stressful job for far more. And people are finding that. So even though the government said, "Oh, we're going to throw $50 million at this problem," where are you going to find the people to sign up for that? How are you going to train them? Because I worked in the public and private sector, I had very interesting type of training. Um, I had to do training with the police. I had training with de-escalation practices. I was very involved, but that's because I was, like Andrea was saying, working multiple jobs. And in your youth, you're spunky and you're full of energy. But of course, as we age, we have families, and the ones with the most experience start to find somewhere else to go. And that's becoming a problem because parents and educators alike need these people. They play such a critical role, and as well as the specialists, because they know the tools, they get that expertise training. And it depends. You have to advocate for that training a lot of the times, which is pretty sad. It
I
should
know
be
it should be the norm.
It should be the norm. And taking that kind of brunt from with when it comes to behavior, it's the last 3 to 4 years, people took a very authoritative, hypocritical approach when it came to dealing with children. And
Yeah.
that means that, they were standing, some teachers were, just berating kids like put on your mask and da da da, treating them like lepers, and with all this fear mongering and fear talk, it had social consequences and increase in behaviors because kids were kids can't operate in that kind of energetic space for long
Absolutely.
periods of time.
It's stressful. And I think you bring up such a good point, Jeanette, is that um, to be in that role around children who are very, very, very needy. And I say needy in a way that that is their ability, their magic abilities is that they just have different needs than other students. And these are the students who are often very, very hands-on. They often require diapering, maybe feeding. They have complex medical issues. There could be nonverbal. They could be very violent. They could, and the complex medical issues, I don't think oftentimes parents who don't have children in the system can realize part of it could be like seizures. They could seize in the middle of class. And these are very, very complex needs that need specialists. So when you're treating certain staff members like they are undervalued, I think that's a huge point in terms of you're doing it because you're altruistic. There is a bigger reason you love the kids, and then to feel so undervalued and be put in stressful situations every single day. What we are seeing in this podcast is about is the system is cracking. Um, I still talk to many of my friends in education, and EAs are leaving at such an alarming rate. I don't know how they will be able to fill their roles. And when they leave, it's not like when teachers leave. I don't know if people know this, but you have to be approved to resign as a teacher. And if it is during the school year and during a time that quote unquote your school board would not approve it, you can actually get denied to resign. Like they can tell you you can't quit. So EAs, because they are hourly staff, they can give 2 weeks notice. And I mean, in terms of work-life balance and your overall happiness and putting boundaries in place where they aren't going to feel so burnt out, a lot are leaving for jobs like Costco or I know there's a lot of like well-paying jobs out there where they don't get beat up every day. So, I mean, a lot are jumping ship. So I think you bring up like a really good point of feeling valued and just in terms of like staff development, they're not invited to a lot of things either. Oftentimes, ECEs and EAs are not invited to the IEP meetings with all the specialists and the teachers around. So, in terms of when 2020 hit and you talked about how there was like a very authoritarian view, I think a lot of them were very hurt by the what would call the environment that was created around there because they grow really attached to their students. They become very, very like very attached. They love them. They spend all day with them. So I think it was really hurtful to see a lot of the things that were happening.
Definitely. And you have administrators who are very undereducated in the realm of special needs and strategies around staffing. I was often the one doing the admin work behind the scenes, which was kind of sad. People would pressure you to, I don't know, just have a miracle happen. And it's like, no, you cannot have a child change at the drop of a hat. It takes time. This is beyond the parameters of mainstream education. I'm like, go to head office and tell them that they can provide more finances around that. And you need to balance out. I was often telling them, like, people who work in chaotic scenarios cannot stay in that scenario all day long.
Yeah.
It should be splitting the position with someone in a less hectic work environment and someone in a more hectic work environment, because then dealing with behaviors for part of the time is less burdensome than the whole day. And then you can negotiate with, and align with another worker. So if you had two EAs or two CYWs, you take the morning. This is our schedule in the morning. This is the afternoon. They still have consistency and they have the consistency of just two people. But these two people don't have to burn out because there's a point in their day where they can manage things in a more less chaotic environment and they can put their best foot forward.
Absolutely, definitely. We saw that all the time. And to give people context too, it would be the difference between, like, in the school that I worked with, it was huge. It was bigger than most high schools, and they had a special education wing. So they had three special education classrooms, and they were fully staffed with educational assistants and teachers. And I mean, you could get the difference between a child that was nonverbal in a wheelchair that needed changing. Maybe they needed a feeding tube. So very, very hands-on, but it was also work that wouldn't be as taxing with loud voices, loud screaming, violence, running. Like they're very, very different if you are focused on maintaining the child who has medical issues versus a child who is can stab people, throw chairs, throw furniture. They're running down the hall. They're a runner, so they're always escaping at recess, or one that screams all day, or one that is going to hit you or hurt other children. Like it's very, very different. So in
Mhm.
terms of, it's like an air traffic controller. They always have to be aware at all times what the kids are doing. So it makes sense to be able to rotate them. However, we are seeing now that like all workplaces, the very, very elite and great at their job professionals are always pulled in all different directions. So I think what's happening now is there's such a staffing shortage when EAs are moved around so often to all different places in the school, then the consistency is lost and then the behavior increases, which
That's
only creates a further problem.
It's true. And we were reading that a lot of parents are just expected to keep their kids at home and or even pick their kids up from the school. And it becomes a problem because parents are also expected to provide in a horrible economic time their basic children's basic needs. And if they're struggling with that and they can't maintain a job because of the needs of their children and they're expected to be at home with them, it's hard to find flexible environments. And I really think that we need to have work environments that are more empathetic to familial needs. So,
I And just to highlight, Jeanette, I'm just going to interrupt. I'm so sorry, but I need to highlight the fact that what you just said, I don't know if many parents recognize that this can happen. So if there are special needs students and they don't have enough EAs, they can be told by school staff they need to stay home that day. Like they don't have the staff to support their needs for safety reasons. So I think that sometimes people don't understand that what are you talking about? School's free. I can send my child every day. Well, no, like there are times where they can say, we just don't have the staff today. It's not safe. You need to keep your child home.
oh, for sure. But there's gonna be straws that break the camel's back once the boomers start getting to retire. Well, they're at retirement age, and some are even retiring early, and those are the most experienced. You have the young ones that aren't as committed to their employment and will leave, and that's going to put stress on the system, the kids, the families. And I know everything's going to shift into a more privatized education system, and quite frankly, I am here for it.
Mhm.
Parents can really consciously consider where they're putting their money, how it's being used, and I think that is really what it boils down to, because even if the government throws money at the school boards, it doesn't tell them how to spend it. So the amount of money that it actually makes it to the front line, who really knows? And with all the mismanagement, I don't think a lot of solutions are going to be. And then where do you get the staffing when there's not as many people getting into the field? And quite
Well,
frankly, a lot of them are not, when I taught at the college level, a lot of them were not, they had youthful energy, granted, but a lot of them were just very green under the gills, and they didn't know what to do with um they had no life experience, and
Definitely. And experience, like people need to recognize that experience is worth its weight in gold. So that's why when you and I started this podcast, it helps that we are both experienced educators and we've been in the system for so long because you do see repetitive things that you can really create solutions with that you know have worked in the past. So that's why it is so useful. And as a solution to all of this for parents listening, this is why it is actually, I find, so much of a brighter rainbow on the side of private education because it would be very easy to be able to lure really great EAs and ECEs over to private education. Say, for example, you have JK's starting and if parents want to get together and maybe there's a neighborhood group of 5 kids, you could easily hire an ECE out of the system and pay them better than they're already receiving and have them teach like a micro school or like a little learning pod. Or I know a lot of parents do this in the summertime, as my EA friends would share. They often know the really, really wonderful staff at certain schools, and parents will pay those staff members, for example, EAs who don't get paid in the summertime, to do private care for their children, their special needs children. So I mean, if mom or dad or someone needs time during the day or they're working, they can hire them outside of the system as well, which really benefits both parties because then EAs have such a better system and a better environment and being able to choose where they're working and have the flexibility of uh, a more supportive environment and just feeling valued as well, right? So freelancing, oh my goodness, there is a whole work rainbow uncovered there.
And the great thing about micro schools too is they are smaller ratios naturally because the educators really, especially at a young age, they really
Yeah.
want to be present for the kids and get them to a place where they can be more independent and not have as many needs. So the work is really being put into that foundational framework. Um, but what a group of parents can do is if you have a group in the same area, pool your resources, your financial resources, approach a micro school because a lot of micro schools have said, we would love to take kids with, various needs, but we don't have the support or the resources needed. So if there are a few parents, get together, find out how much you can contribute and get that ECE, get that CYW, get whoever you need, approach the school and be like, hey, I have these group of kids. We want to hire support staff to be present. Um, and you'd be surprised at the response that people will get from a lot of these micro schools, especially if they have the space to expand into something like that. Um,
That's a great
parents,
idea.
right? Like the parents need to advocate, and if
Mhm.
the numbers are there, then people will help you.
Absolutely. And I think it's all just taking your sovereignty back, right? Taking your power back and being able to recognize that there's totally ways around this. The system, yes, isn't great right now, but they have availability when you start to think of things outside of the box. And Jeanette, I'm going to highlight your packages as well because at Refound Ed, Jeanette offers all sorts of different types of coaching packages in terms of what you can do to set up your own micro school and learning pod, or Jeanette, you can jump in because you offer all sorts of packages. And I know so many people who have had such great success with your guidance.
I do a lot of the administrative side of things, but I don't do curriculum, which Andrea would be amazing for that, Bloom at Home Learning. And there's a lot of people that are on our roster that can support people when it comes to behavior supports and all kinds of counseling, coaching. I'm really digging. Like there's so many supports. So definitely go take a look, see who you connect with, and try and find solutions. Like for example, if you're kind of stuck in a pickle, there's a few parents, you can use a neighborhood community center. They have rooms for rent at a low cost. Your local library, if you had a group, and you can alternate the hiring of somebody to come in, or you can have someone coaching and then someone doing the lesson virtually, for example. Like Andrew
Mhm.
can come in, do a lesson, and then you're present to support, the review of the material. There are so many solutions. You just need to organize a bit because it is work by everyone, the whole marketing side, micro school owners versus public. Public, the kids come from the community and it's just you automatically know. But when it comes to the private education, because this is new and people, well, it's new, but it's not. Homeschooling has always existed, so have the private schools, but now you have a range of different programs that are becoming more available and accessible. And
Mhm.
it can be a lot of information. So I do encourage you guys to reach out to any of us for more info, and we would be happy to connect you to someone that can help, or
Definitely.
to highlight any services we can provide.
I think too, it's really important to highlight if you are an EA or a CYW or an ECE listening to this and you're like, yes, Andrea and Jeanette are finally talking about what all of us talk all the time about that nobody listens to. If you're thinking about leaving the system, Jeanette is a great resource for that as well. So, in terms of if you're an EA and you're feeling undervalued and underpaid, and you're in a situation where you want to set some boundaries with your work environment because it's taxing and you know that the burnout is there, you can start looking for alternative ways to exit the system. And you can build that up slowly, right? So, with in terms of freelance or starting your own business, it can be full time, it can be part time. You can make it happen in any way that you're comfortable with. So it's a great idea to start exploring those ideas right now before the situation, I think, gets worse. You know, Jeanette, with flu season and illness that we all know winter brings in January and February, and in terms of just like the chaos in society right now, I think it's a really great time for people to start empowering themselves and looking into things that they can do better and do in a way that they're going to feel so much more revived and energetic and uplifted, and the work is meaningful to them.
Oh, definitely. And I am optimistic about what the future holds because now for the support staff, I do encourage you, like Andrea said, like dabble. You can do supply. You can do, go and support a school just to try it out. You don't have to commit. You're not signing, it's not a lifetime commitment. It's not a marriage. You can just go and see what it's like. And I do think everything is just going to do a 360 flip. And I'm starting to see some things in the news that are quite interesting. Maybe it might be good for a future topic, but I know that Argentina, the
Yeah,
leader in Argentina, just got rid of a lot of government officials
I
and was
saw
able
that.
to balance the budget. Imagine eliminating all the bureaucracy. Um, in education and giving more autonomy, which the alternative system is already displaying with so much success.
Absolutely. Well, the elephant in the room would be Trump, too, coming into power in January in the United States. That's going to be huge to watch as he's filling his cabinet with a lot of outside of the box thinkers. Like, I know most people know Elon Musk started his own school, and it's really cool the way it works. People have to look it up online, lots of information out there. But in terms of, and he is also on the spectrum, right? He has autism. So, I think in terms of who Trump is surrounding himself with is a lot of people who are recognizing that there's a lot of indoctrination in the school system and with teachers unions and in the Board of Education. And there's a lot of heavy bureaucracy and waste of money. And obviously, um, with not that I agree with standardized testing, but with testing and test scores going down and so many children being graduated from the system, not being able to read or do basic math. And I know we're going to talk about the math aspect on a different podcast as well, but I think it's just very apparent there's a lot of things that do need to change. And if the United States, right next to us, is putting more money towards homeschooling or sovereignty, school choice, right?
Yeah.
Then I think that we are going to be able to be like front row seats to how that unfolds and that
Oh,
how that benefits kids and families, right?
oh, for sure. That means more pooling of resources. So you have those parents, and your kids are going to be around, people that are aligned with your values. And that's not a bad thing. There's people that's with some cultural values or religious values or other kinds of, we have to be once people can pool their resources, we'll see where the chips fall too, because not every strategy, not every way of being is going to excel, but it will be very interesting to see. And I think more investment needs to be done in the research side of how things are being disrupted and evolving, and because the
Definitely.
outcomes are going to be, I think, more positive than negative. Nothing will be 100% positive. That's literally impossible. Um, it's right up there with like completely eliminating anything from
Yeah.
like, like racial discrimination or, like other kinds of biases, or you can't completely eliminate even as much as we would love to eliminate those things. That's literally impossible. Um,
But I think it is, you bring up a really good point. It's just going to be really interesting to watch it unfold. And I think it's going to give great ideas to those who are seeing the issues in the system and who want to leave. Like I can't even tell you, even I have admin reaching out to me who I know have been planning their exit for quite a while, and it's strategic, right? So they want to do it at a good time for them financially, but in terms of people who are seeing that it's not sustainable right now, or it's really not going to be sustainable for how they want to live the rest of their life, and just setting up those boundaries into what's healthy and what's not, into work-life balance. I think we're going to see some huge shifts in everything. It's going to be great to watch. I'm super optimistic as well, although my heart does go out to all of our support staff in schools that are finding that their working conditions are just getting worse every year.
Definitely. And some things that are starting to emerge, like tiny oaks, um, they've switched over to tiny palms.
Really?
Natasha, she is now like she has a group of families that are now going to be spending some of their time here in Ontario and in Panama City. So now they have relationships where they are, I guess they're going to be snowbirds before they're too old to actually enjoy it, which
That's really cute.
isn't that cute? I think it's a fantastic idea. And that's just, a glimpse into the power of unity and collaboration, what can emerge from that, because now they get to enjoy more and be flexible. And we really need more environments that are like aligned with how we want to live and good for our soul and spirit.
Absolutely, absolutely. And when kids are enjoying it, and when parents are happy with what is being taught and the curriculum and the ways that things are happening, then I think it can provide such like a container of positivity for kids instead of all the time stress, right? And the chaos that even any classroom sees today in terms of the teacher, the support staff, the administrator, the students, the everyone is experiencing and feeling that chaos. Like we feel when there's negative energy around us. So I think the fact that it's been going on for so long, and it's going to be refreshing to see different systems emerge. But yeah, it definitely it's created from things that don't work anymore.
They never did really. Um,
No.
Another podcast we could do is like our system, the residential schools were a testing ground.
Yeah.
Our public systems are a scaled version of those residential schools.
We could talk about that because that breaks my heart. It's
Right.
awful. Yeah. And I don't
So
think we teach kids that enough, although age appropriate, right? Age appropriate, but obviously the atrocities done by the government aren't often taught in schools. And that was not that long ago.
oh, and it was in my lifetime. It was,
Yeah.
which
It was
is
still going on
really
in the 1980s and I don't know
past
the
that, past that,
late 70s,
because I
90s.
was in my 20s, which was over 20 years ago, and they had just closed the last residential school.
Yeah. That created, oh, we could talk about it another time, but that
Yeah.
created generational trauma that will, I pray in this lifetime that that will recover, but
I don't think,
devastating.
yeah, no, it'll always be a part of history, but these legacy systems, supposedly, quote unquote, um, they don't work. They never have. They weren't meant to work effectively.
Hmm.
And, you know, anything is better than what we have in place. And to
Absolutely.
those educators wanting to branch off on your own, start with just one day, one thing. I have someone who's on mat leave, and she agreed that the early bird catches the worm because the market will get saturated to a certain degree. And because then you're talking about like over 800,000 educators in Canada alone, plus actually, um,
Now is
freelancing.
the time. Yes.
Yeah. So, and you don't have to do it full time, but if you're in the system, um, start doing one weekend day once a month, or start small, but get your name out there and your expertise and skills out there, for the world to see. And then people
Absolutely. You
can,
can do in-person clubs. You can do like before or after school. I know many people are thinking before school. So let's concentrate on you could do after school. There's so many different things that experts can start creating professionals in the field where they can start being in charge of their own finances and being paid and just exploring different avenues to be able to use their amazing skills and their giant hearts for children in a way that they are going to feel valued and appreciated and expand in ways that they haven't been able to do in a constrictive system.
oh, for sure. Um, how, I think how many minutes are we at?
We are at 27 or oh, a little bit longer.
So we want this to be the length of a car drive so that we don't overwhelm anybody with too much info, or just drone on for a long period of time. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and lots of hot topics that are going to be coming up, and we'll see how things emerge and unravel, as we progress in this crazy world of ours. It
Thank you. I think that was awesome, Jeanette.
was good, right? Wasn't too
Yeah.
abrasive. Like I
No,
didn't.
you can like totally cut it even just before the you asked the minute mark too. It was
Oh,
a bit longer because I didn't start it right away. I forgot to, but I started a few minutes after.
okay. As long as like 23 plus
Oh
minutes.
yeah, we're over that for
Oh,
sure.
perfect. All
I thought
right.
that was really good.
Yeah, it was really good. All right.
Did you want to do parent overwhelm or is that too much for you tonight?
Um, I want to, but how's your day tomorrow?
I am busy tomorrow. Sorry, I'm taking that course and it's
Nice.
Sundays and it's like it's hours of material. So
Oh, fun.
I know. Is it too late for you?
Well, I'm just kind of getting a little bit depleted because I've
I
had
know.
so much to do, but
I totally get it. I totally get it.
yeah, so maybe we'll just book maybe Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah, no, you have your little guy's birthday.
That is next week on the 20th. 21st, a week
Okay.
from today, the Saturday.
Do you want to do overwhelm? I think that might be a good one after. So Sylvia's tomorrow. And then we need one for the following Sunday because this might be a good one for like the new year. Or I don't know. I'm just trying to plan out the dates with Christmas.
Okay.
Are you still posting as usual during the holidays? You're going to post on the 22nd?
I could, or we could skip 1 week.
It totally doesn't
Three,
matter. It's
four.
up to you. And if you send me an
Okay.
invoice, I will totally pay it as well because I want to be able to pay on my business credit card if that's okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I know that you had sent me the amount, but I can't send that through my credit
Is
card.
it American or Canadian
Yeah, it's an American credit
card?
card.
Okay, so
Yeah.
then I can just give you the American price
Yeah.
instead of the Canadian conversion.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
Well, I'm glad they gave you a credit card. That's
Yeah,
that's
it's a
amazing.
bonus. Yeah.
Well, like they have to give something. They even give
I
money
know.
to students. Like,
Well, that took about a year to build up my credit rating. So, yeah, it's something. But I appreciate being able to put that on my business because then it makes it all neat and tidy.
yeah, no, for sure. Always keep it separate
Because
the person.
if I e-transferred, then that just messes it up because it's two different banking systems. If I can pay through my US one, then that's so much easier. And the US credit card is so much easier because it's the business one.
Okay, perfect. Then
So I
I'll
don't mind doing that. And I'm sorry to throw you for a loop tonight as well.
oh, that's okay. Like things happen,
I
That's
know. I'm not a quitter. I don't think out, but I'm at capacity.